Hey everyone, a new little film on thrusting. Just want to take you through all of the little details that goes into the thrust. And let's start with the CROSSGUARD. If we're looking at the German manuals, they differ a little bit, but a simple take on the positions when you're thrusting in the German manuals are: you put your thumb on the sword like this, in this position, and as you're moving down, you turn the sword and you put it like that. A 45 degree that goes up so that you've got a good position, lock against the sword if it's coming from above. On the other side, you turn it, so you've got a 45 degree there, and then you turn it around so that it goes up like this. So these are the positions, the simple positions for the CROSSGUARD as you're going into a thrust. Now, they may vary a little bit. For example, if someone is standing in a low guard, you may want to use the long edge to go down diagonally like that in order to protect your hands a little bit better than if you're turning your hand towards that edge, right? But in general, you go from here to there, and over there. Your body is divided into 4 openings: the upper openings, left and right, and the lower openings, left and right. And the same is, of course, true for your guards. They're protecting one of the 4 openings like this. And as you're thrusting, you want to make sure that your sword is positioned on the right side of the opponent's sword so that you can lock the position that he might attack as you're thrusting. When you're thrusting, you always want to make sure that you're moving in with a threat. So that means that you put your point forward first. You stretch out your arms against your opponent, and this is very important. Let me show you how it's done. So I'm putting my arms out before I'm dedicating myself and my body motion into that thrust, okay? Often happens that if you're moving your body into the thrust the same time as the tip, Alex here may do the same. So I'm dedicated to my thrust, and he just reaches out and he touches me, and it's often the case that you get a double hit, which isn't very good in real fencing, right? So, but if I do this, I stretch out my arm, I'm presenting him with a threat. I can pull out of this position if he goes around my blade, does a Durchwechsel, for example. That leaves me time to change sides so that I can make a safe attack on the other side, like this. So this is really important. As you're thrusting, you put your arms out first before dedicating yourself to the actual thrust. Always do this. Put it out, and then you go into the thrust. When you're thrusting, it's quite important that you don't overreach, because you need to go back again from the thrust that you've done. And if I'm in this position, going really far in, it's going to be very difficult for me to get out of that as well. So although this is sort of a general rule that you can break sometimes if you can do it safely, when you're learning how to thrust and you're practicing thrusting, extend the arm and put the foot forward thus far. Don't go all the way down here. So this also goes into, you should always be able to have your foot firmly placed on the ground. So don't roll your foot over like this. Instead, make sure that it's always placed on the ground so that you're stable. Right? Arms out, step in, and that's it. When you've got a good thrusting position, you should never put your butt out like this. It should always be your hips forward or pushed forward like this. So your balance point when you're doing this is quite off. You're out of balance, it makes you slow. Instead, try to push it forward. You get a much better position with your upper body, and it's still possible to fence from this position Whereas this position is really weak and it's easy for Alex here to overwhelm me with cuts and thrusts. So put that hip forward as you're thrusting. Another little neat trick that you can see, especially in some of the later fencing manuals, and it's also often seen in rapier manuals, is that for the high thrusts, where you're hiding behind a higher position, you put your chin up like this. And the reason is that it actually makes it harder for your opponent to hit your head. Right. So if I'm up here and Alex goes high, he creates, it could be possible for him to actually hit my face if I don't have a good angle. But if I do this, it actually creates a more difficult angle for him to attack. Instead of here, I'm going there. So that is a beneficial little thing that you can put in every time that you do the thrust. You just make sure that you put that chin up there. And the other thing, of course, is that you put your arms high up. They should be above your head as you're thrusting from a high position. Right? So don't go up here, go up there, and put that chin like this. Another really important thing is, of course, how you get out of a thrusting position. If you've missed or if you've hurt your opponent, that you come back out in a safe manner. So what you do is you do the reverse of how you went in. When you came in with a thrust, you extended your arms and you did the little lunge. As you're pulling out, you keep your arms outstretched, you put your foot back before going into your guard again. The exercise that we're going to start with gets all of these little details into it. And it's quite simple. I'm starting from a distance that is sort of outside. As I'm thrusting at Alex, I put my hands up. I put my first little step in. As I've done that, I lean in with a thrust. I go back out, put my arms, keep my arms out. As I'm retracting my blade, the last thing I do. Now, a little variation of this. Remember that I first put my sword out in order to make sure that I can react to his response to this. This time he's going to push my blade aside. I'll go around his blade. This is called a Durchwechseln in the German system. And I'll attack with a passing step of my left leg after that. Right, so from here, I put my arms out. I take a little step forward, and as I'm doing that, Alex pushes that to the side. So I presented a threat, he reacted to it. He put that aside. I'll go to the other side. I'll create a bind here. I'll do a passing step, and this is when I'm really committed to my thrust. As I'm going out, I keep my arms stretched out, and I pull my body out, and then I retract my blade.